Good afternoon, Floss Tube Pam, stitching between the lines. Today is Wednesday, May 20th, 2020. And being May 2020 means 20 days of mania. And Murphy just walked into the room. And anyway, so we've talked about my mania, and my mania consists of working in all my whips and a new start, enough to total 20. So that's what I did. We're in my sewing space. I was thinking up all kinds of places where we could set up to do videos, and I just have too much stuff, 20 items, 20 projects to show. So they're here surrounding me in a cart and a basket on the sewing table. So I will need to excuse myself a few times to like lean down or bend over or go here or there. So anyway, I have 19 things, and the 20th I haven't started because today it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 1:10, and my face is red. I've been sitting outside. 'Tis the season to soak up some sun because we actually have some. Anyway. I love the smell of sunscreen, suntan lotion, whatever you want to call it. Love the smell. As much as I hate the feeling of like stuff on my skin, sunscreen, I don't mind at all. That feeling of having been in the sun and in the wind and all that. So it's just such a treat to go sit on. I was out on the back deck reading my book for a little while. Today was the big outing day. The reason why I'm making a video, first of all, nobody's home but me. That doesn't happen all that often anymore. And I'm wearing clothes I would let people in public see me in. Right? I get dressed every day, but you know, it seems like I wear the old favorites all the time. And I went grocery shopping today, big outing, big expedition, into the garden center to get some geraniums. And I drove past the other garden center I want to go to. I have like things I always get, and I get the big hanging geranium baskets at one garden center and the seed geraniums to plant at another garden center, and that one's much closer to me. I drove by there today. That parking lot was packed. New York State is in their phase 1 of opening up. It started, it's kind of started, I don't know, it started Friday, but people really started it, I don't know. They said, the governor said on Friday they could start preparing for opening on Monday, but phase 1 really is only construction companies, manufacturing, I'm not sure what else. So I think there's some retailers that can offer curbside are open. I needed 1 skein of DMC the other day, and I needed it for a week or two. And I already had ordered a pattern, a totally different one, isn't here yet, and 1 skein of DMC. And then all of a sudden I needed another skein, and I'm like, where am I going to get 1 skein of DMC? So I thought about it and tried to figure it out, and ended up ordering it at Michael's, because our little Joann's is not, it's a smallish Joann's, and they haven't been doing curbside at that one. So I checked with him when he was coming home from work, I think it was on Monday, and said, could you swing through the parking lot of Michael's? And he said, sure. So I ordered it. Cost 60 cents, with tax. Sent him the information, and he said, am I really stopping to pick up something that costs 60 cents? I said, that's the whole point, is that I can't, if I drive there, which it's a 45-minute drive now to where my old Michael's and Wegmans and stuff is, and it's not worth it for 1 thing of Floss. You can't order 1 thing of Floss. So yeah, you're going to come through that town on your way home anyway. So I got it. Anyway. So where was I going? Oh, with New York opening back up. But garden centers have been open all along because they're considered essential. I really don't know how they've been doing business, but I think because we had snow on Mother's Day weekend. So it's finally been nice for like 2 days. So I think everybody's out buying all their garden center things. So anywho, I got my 4 big, huge hanging baskets of geraniums that I put in boilers out front, 2 in each. And in this house, they are straddling like the garage doors. So that makes me happy. So anyway, that's why I was like sitting in the sun, a little sunscreen, not doing the makeup thing. It is what it is, what it is. So I'm making a video because it's the 20th. I didn't make any as I went because, you know, time got away. First of all, I really thought the thing I did on day one I would have finished because I kept jumping into it a little bit here or there. Well, that's the piece I needed thread for, which is excuse number one. Excuse number two is when I work on something for only one day, I don't want to put it down. I want to keep going as far as I can go and maybe get it to a good stopping point, which didn't always happen. So there's funny stopping points on some of these. So I kept thinking, when I have that done, I'll make a video. Well, then it got, so that I was like, well, it's still not done. But then it was like, what's the point of making a video on day 15 when day 20 is rolling up here? So here we are, making a video in the corner of my sewing space. The birds, you can hear the birds outside. We have trees right up close to the house. There's, see some of them. And lots of birds. I always had a bird feeder at our other house, so birds came and went, but they didn't stay and do all the singing and stuff, so I just love that. I'm not putting bird feeders up here because I can't really put it far enough away from the house. Any place that I can see it is very close to the house. I will put a hummingbird feeder up. I need to have hummingbirds. Because it was so cold, the Baltimore Orioles kind of migrated this far and then stopped. So for a while I was putting out like oranges cut in half, and the Orioles were coming. I was putting them in the flower boxes that are out on the deck. Well, they got themselves fueled up and the temperatures quit going below freezing at night, and they have since left. So now I need to find a place to put a hummingbird feeder where I can see it. And enjoying all the flowering things. I didn't take any pictures. Sorry. The people that built this house planted like one of everything. Like, I don't even know what to call everything. But there's just stuff everywhere. And probably it blooms all in cycles all summer long. So lots of things to enjoy. Even if I'm stuck at home, lots of things to enjoy out the window. And lots of stitching time. So I'm holding this. This is day 20s. This is what I'll start today. I actually had 21 things. So, but one of them's just going to have to wait. And I'm hoping some of the medium-sized things, this is probably really considered small, I can get a few of them done, and then I'll start something I didn't show you, something I'm not going to show. So excuse me while I move out of the frame a little bit. We're just going to jump in. I don't really think anybody cares what day I did what. This is one of those like epic stitch along fails that I never ever even started, even though I'm supposed to be doing it. Glendon Place's Ornaments All Around. I'm supposed to be doing it. Lori Yu, who's a frequent commenter, I think, on a lot of our Floss tubes, and I've met her several times at retreats, and she's just a sweetie. I bought this a couple years ago. I went to a Saturday sewing event hosted by a store in Florida, and the guest designer was Glendon Place. And Glendon Place is hit or miss with patterns I like. I looked online and I made an effort to make sure to find one, because it's not every day you get to buy directly from a designer at a gathering. And I just love, these are so there's so many beads in Krynic. It'll be just great. So anyway, Lori finished all her stitching. I don't know if she's gotten to the beading yet, but thank heavens I actually got it started. This is the middle. Let me get it top up. It doesn't make any difference at this point. So these are the four like bells in the middle. So I got a decent start. It's on Relic. I think it's 32 count. Let me look. 28 count crystal Relic. Picture this plus. And it's a pleasure to stitch on, so I'm over my the Santa. I'm not over the Santa from the December before last that I did on an opalescent, and it was just a horrible epic fail. So there's one I had good success on, only worked one day on that. And this was a biggie. I'm going to save it. Let me see. Let me try to be somewhat logical. This was a whip that I started in Maynia last year and never worked on after the first Maynia day last year. No excuses why. A Rovaris, right? Oh, that's my girls how that's pronounced. Beach. It's on a piece of 32 count. I know that. Because I'm not loving the fabric. 32 count earthen, picture this plus. And what I don't like is stitching on 32 count with 2 threads, but I want the boldness you get with 2 threads. I don't want this to look kind of, what would you call it, like primitive, like the primitive kind of look. The only thing I had done before was I had the A and the very, very start of the C, and I mean barely anything. So that's how much I got done. I think I worked on this one day of Maynia and a little bit of another time. I think just a little sneak stitching. So this is one that in theory I should be able to finish with just a few days of dedicated stitching time. Another new start was Country Cottage Needleworks Winter. Now, look at how that fabric looks blue. I'm pretty sure I've heard other people say the same thing, that the actual called for fabric, and that's what I'm stitching it on, is a piece of, you know, this is like a huge step in the right direction, that I even know the name of the oh, look at that, I left the thing right on there, that I even know what the fabric is. All my blogging days, it was like, fabric, I don't know. 32 count star sapphire linen, and this is also with 2 threads, and it is easy peasy stitching. So that's one day. I'm trying to get like the framework in so that when you sit down other times to stitch, you've got the vine that goes, the vine that goes up along the words, and then you just have leaves to do, and just do the, I'm trying to do the framework so that the inside is easy. So anyway, it's on this piece of star sapphire linen, which is really green. But when you start stitching on it and you're using your brown and whatever, and I'm like, you know, that's kind of starting to look a little, get a little blue tone to it. So I don't know. I'm liking it. I definitely like it. So I don't know who is Star Sapphire Linen. I don't know who makes it. When the tag says these things, I don't know who it is. But it's what it's called for. Maybe it says on here. Oh, by Witchelt. Well, there you go. We always look for everything to be done by some over-dyer who we are familiar with. No excuse, no reason. This is one that's been laying around in its kitted up form for a very long time, since it came out probably. And I keep thinking I'll accidentally start it, and then I don't. Let me say the name of it, Country Cottage Needleworks, wonderful time of year. So this was a start, and it's upside down. You know, it's hard enough when you're looking at it, it's backwards to us so that it's straight for you guys. And so we don't always immediately recognize upside down. And it's done on the called for fabric flare, right? Do you think that's what that is? Polka dots. There's a tag in there. Raw and white Belfast, 32 count. So this is another one with 2 threads, easy peasy. So I'm not complaining about Picture This Plus, because if I ever do a fabric of the month, it's always Picture This Plus. Almost always. I did do color and cotton for a year. And I like to get 32 count because the finish size is kind of more reasonable on some of the size pieces I do. But Picture This Plus, whatever conditioner they're using, plumps up the fibers so much that it's very hard to use 2 threads. So I will be cognizant of that. And then pick my fabric more accordingly as I go along here. But I did find myself ordering a couple fabric bundles of 28 count from Picture This Plus, is now called Hanging by a Thread, I think. So I took the opportunity to order a couple bundles of, you know, back quarters so that I could have some 28 count of the things I like. This is Not Forgotten Farms Flag Folk. It was a start as well. I mentioned several times I bought this when I went to Country Sampler in Wisconsin with all the Wisconsin ladies. Fabulous, fabulous. Such fond memories of that trip. All the traveling I did last year. Did any of you see I was the pinned comment on Pam and Steph's video this past Sunday? And they wanted you to mention travel in your comment, and so I mentioned travel. And last year I was quick to say that I was traveled out. I was tired of traveling. I had just I traveled a lot last year and was burned out by the end of the fall. But I have a couple trips I went on that are like the fondest memories, and going and meeting these ladies in Wisconsin and then driving down and going to the Amana Midwest Cross Stitch Retreat is right up there on the list, along with one other trip I took with a friend, and going to the Empire Retreat. And I'm not, none of those are even in the same category as the trips I took with my husband. So look at me. I don't know what am I complaining about? Travel too much. We just get a little travel weary because, like, when I got home from Amana, I was home for 2 nights and I had to go back to the airport and fly somewhere else. And on that trip, my husband just got home that same day that I was turning around and leaving, and we like met between the airport and our house to have supper together because I had been gone since the previous week. Then he was gone, and then I was gone, and then I can't remember where else I went because it was just a little intense there for a while. So anyway, blah, 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 poor me. Flag Folk by Not Forgotten Farm, I bought at Country Sampler, and I bought their because I bought it, there's a thread and fabric conversion. I will tell you the fabric is murky, but I can't tell you the threads. This is what I did. This green flower and blob of ground. Ooh, I'm telling you, you can see right through that. Tension much? Let me get something behind it to help me. There we go. It is so beautiful. This doesn't do it justice, just how beautiful this is. We'll just gaze at it for a minute. So, murky is a real, like, tan and blue, like denim blue. Love denim color, denim blue. Holy cow. It's probably my all-time favorite color. Which way are we going? This was a start, a Maynia start. It intended to be a start. Let me step away for half a second. Sorry about that. I wanted to lament all the fabric selections I made. When I did a Sue Hillis last year, sorry, I think there's some pattern there. I said I always wanted to have a Sue Hillis going, and this was the next one I picked out, and I could never pick fabric. I just could not. Well, here's part of the problem. I thought I had picked the most perfect fabric ever. Isn't that gorgeous? I really thought, like, stitched on lace. Fabric wasn't big enough when I sat down to work on it. So I sorted through all my fabrics and I came up with a piece of, you know, I don't really change fabrics out. Anyway, I came up with a piece of color and cotton yellow. I think this one might be called Lemonade. Oh, love color and cottons yellows. Yep, Lemonade, Joblin, 32 count. Let's find a spot. Ooh, it likes sunlight. I started it on here. I didn't like it on here, so I took it out. It's just like I was channeling Nicole. Or, yeah, no. Who am I thinking of? Yeah. Oh, It'll come to me. Holy cow. Changes fabric all the time, does all the samplers. So then I got out a piece of this. This is doubloon. I believe it's doubloon. Yep. I started it on doubloon. Nope. I thought maybe like an antique-y looking background. Nope. So when all else fails, read the pattern and see where it tells you to do it on a piece of antique white, I think. Antique. Da-da-da-da-da. Excuse me while I figure out what the heck I'm doing. I'm pretty sure it's just a piece of antique. Weeks dye works linen. Color light khaki. Light khaki. Okay, so it said do it on light khaki. I pulled out a piece of antique. It couldn't be more perfect. It looks yellow, just like I was going for. It feels wonderful. Look at fabric. All things must be held up over here because here's the optimum light. However, a colored pattern behind it doesn't do it justice. So anyway, I worked away. This is fussy, very fussy. I started in the middle. I'm working over into the right corner. Very, very fussy with lots of colors and stuff. And then there's instructions, like the berries in the pattern are all numbered. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, whatever. And they're all stitched differently based on what number they are. There's actually 4 of them. I'm looking at the pattern. So, fussy. Fussy will be 2 stitches of this and half a stitch of that and whatever. But I know that once I get those holly leaves and berries done, it'll just be the words and it'll be lovely. So worked on that for one day. That was an interesting one. Struggling with the fabrics. Then Hawk Run Hollow, Farms of Hawk Run Hollow. My goal, this was a whip. And my goal was not to drive you all crazy, but apparently I am. I thought I was really prepared by having at least everything with me until I got to the fabric part. Farms of Hawk Run Hollow. Last year's Maynia goal was to finish the big thing in the middle. And then I was trying every Wednesday to pull it out and work on it, because that's when Kathleen of Kathleen's Trodden Trail goes to, I think she stitches, maybe they go to Reflections and stitch on their Hawk Run Hollows. But once I finished this block, that was that. Wednesday just became another day of the week, my grocery day. So that was sort of a fail. So this time my goal is to do 2 more blocks for Maynia. So prior to the start of Maynia, I boxed in the 2 more squares. And the only thing I managed, and this took me a whole day, this is on 40 count, was the chicken coop. There's different chickens that go in there. And actually, because I didn't actually finish all that outlining, I had like 1 square left. By the end of the day, the next day, I continued until that was done. So, but this is a long-term project. I'm not fretting over it, that it's going to take me so long. It's not worth fretting over. Another Maynia start is Country Cottage Needleworks Surfside Cottage. I may try to change it to Lakeside Cottage, which I should be able to because that's 4 letters to replace 4 letters, right? Done on a piece of 28 count Country French Blue, which is just gorgeous. So I got mostly the house done and a little start on the roof. Love the way this house is like a couple different colors. So that was one day's worth. I don't think I went back and did any on another day, but I don't think so. I don't think so. Oh dear, I already know what's in here. And here's, okay, look. this has a tassel on it, on the zipper, and the tassel is stuck inside the bag, so I can't unzip it. It doesn't want to unzip. It's kind of a sign of how this project is going, is that the zipper is stuck. Okay, we got it going. Got the tassel out. This was a Maynia start last year, and I goofed on it, and then I took it to Amana for the Fall Midwest cross stitch retreat, and I goofed on it some more. So, poor thing. The poor thing. I sat down and I got busy on it. There's suggestions for what I can do to change this, which is what I goofed up on, and it should be taken out all the way back down to way in the early phase of working on it, and I don't really want to. So I thought, well, let me make the cake and then I'll decide. So all I got done was whatever tan you see of the cake. I don't remember what interrupted the entire rest of my stitching day, but something did. I don't remember what. Involved me having to help with something. What's in this lovely? Oh yes, this has been being worked on for a long time. In fact, I have not touched it since it was a Maynia whip last year. And last year during Maynia, I don't even know what the fabric is. Last year, oops, there's some thread in there. During Maynia, I know I finished up whatever I could finish up on the flowers and leaves for outlining, and then I had just barely started the outer edge of the crock. So this time I did a bunch of the inner portions of the crock. Still love this, but it just somehow doesn't ever get to be a priority. I really don't know why. Sometimes that's just what happens. There's a lot of threads involved, so if I ever got cracking on this, I could put all these threads back in my main thread boxes. I don't know. I don't know. And then another thing that I've kitted this up ages ago. Lots of threads. But this was a Maynia start. It's one of Paul Vaughn's. Well, that's the pattern part. Where's the picture? Interestingly, Angie Bub Mai is working on the same thing, same one, and she's almost done. She's done a little more than me, but started in the exact same spot. I'm very fond of it. I loved working on it. Just on a piece of white, I don't know what. I just want to make sure I hold it up right. So we've both done the flag. She's done some of the swing, and I moved up into the next flag, I guess. So that was one day's. I was watching Wild Country on Netflix while I worked on this. That was interesting. I try to think, where was I in that era of whatever, when that event was going on, and I was high school into college, so I'm pretty sure I wasn't worried about what was going on in the Pacific Northwest with a cult. It was an interesting show. I think it was called Wild Country. This project, oh, this is my, I have to turn the pattern around, Prairie Schooler. That I also, this is the other pattern I took with me. I don't remember when I started it. It was a new start sometime between last May and this May. I took it with me when I went to the Midwest. I started it after StitchCon, because in StitchCon I was finishing up the last Prairie Schooler, and my objective is to always have a Prairie Schooler underway. So when I was I probably put in the whole perimeter in preparation for going to the Midwest retreat in Amana. And I don't know, whatever I worked on, I don't know. But I worked on stuff. I worked on grass this Maynia. And I think I needed to do the red and 2 more stars. Not a bad amount of work. less, like when I opened this up to show you before, I had less done than I thought I did. This belongs in Paula Vaughn. I don't need to mess things up already, so let me drop that into her bag. And this is another Maynia start. Hindsight's Welcome to the Lake. This, I believe, is also on a 32 count Picture This Plus, and it's given me grief. Regency. Picture This Plus Regency. And 2 threads, you know. If I get all the letters outlined, then the colors that run through the words maybe will appear to go quicker because I do the little yellow here and a little yellow, you know, make my way back and forth across. That's what I'm telling myself. So it's cute. I like it. But 2 ply on 32 count Picture This Plus is not your friend. Okay, I've emptied out that basket of projects. So let's visit the cart full of projects. This was also a Maynia start. 32 count Picture This Plus Mellow. What do you think I'm going to have to say on it? I'm just not a starter over again. So this is a little house, Lakeside Lodge. It is cute, sweet, love it. This is one of the ones that I stopped in a really strange spot, is on the lake. I was doing the lake, and you know, I don't want the blue to start looking like it's stripy, and so I dropped down, and so I was just kind of messing around. But here's the thing, I'm using Gentle Arts Blueberry. This is the best blue ever. I mean, I like blue. I'm a big blue fan. This is probably more like a denim blue, so that could be why I like it so much. It just is perfect for this project. So that's a happy thing. I really thought I would pick this up again and finish the lake so it didn't look like I stopped in such a weird place. But whatever rolled around the next day, I probably was ready to work on whatever was the next day's project. And really, I'm just picking them up. I was picking them up as I go. Some of it based on how much time I knew I would have in the day. You would think the whole world is all idle, but not always. My husband's working at home, or if there's things that have to be done. Like today, grocery shopping, which is fine by me. I like to grocery shop. It's like the highlight of my week. When my kids were babies, like when the first one was born, we lived, we had just, right before she was born, we had moved out of the city and into this little tiny town, the one that we spent 30 years in. And I was newly stay at home, and I had a baby. And so when you're new in a town, it's like you're people who sell like the Schwann guy. They come to your door like instantly, in case you don't know they exist. So some guy, I don't even know what the company was. I'd never heard of it before, and you could buy groceries, and he would come every 2 weeks and bring your groceries, and he would give you an order form. So this is his presentation to me. Here's the order form. You give it to me, and in 2 weeks later, I'll bring you whatever you choose. I said, going to the grocery store is the highlight of my week. I am not giving that up. This is August snapshot. Is that a hoot when you see the picture? That's a hoot. What part I did. This is all in one day. This August snapshot. I'm working on the striped towel that's around her. Isn't that funny? Where did I stop? I didn't finish boxing in the whole thing. So I like to do that, and then I am in my, area. I bought this pattern at a store in Florida because Florida had. I think this is Timeless Treasures. It does a lot of novelty fabrics that just come out with fabrics for states. Like I have the one that's for New York State, and this is Florida's, and the colors match this. So in that store, they had finished this up as a pillow with a big ruffly edge. I'm thinking more maybe a project bag. I have 2 yards of fabric, so I could do a lot of things. So I just love that. That is so fun. And when you have the little boxes to work within, to me, that's the thing. I don't know. It gives me parameters. I think if I was doing a big, huge, giant sampler, which I have done, big sampler type things, I like to do the border first. Then I have my field to work within. So that was a Maynia start. Nobody's keeping count, right? I'm just looking on my cart that I wheel around to make sure I haven't forgotten anything. There's a few things sitting in front of me I haven't shown you yet. Oh dear. Murphy, are you okay? Murphy's coughing. Not throwing up, just a little cough. In my big giant box. I'm still holding out to show you that. Oh crap. These go to something. I don't know what. So this was actually a whip. I did not pull it out last year and count it as a whip in Maynia because all I had done was like the tiniest little bit. One day I couldn't stand it and I had to put some stitches in it. Does that everybody watch Heather McLean? Watch because she makes videos on Instagram. Heather McLean, or follow her on Instagram. I met Heather a couple years ago at a stitching gathering in Florida. Her stitching just blows me away, and it just inspires me like I can't even tell you. And she'll do little videos and talk and stitch on things, or her finishing. Holy cow! She'll show a video with like a whole lot of photo clips of how she finishes something. Send me a message if you want to know more specifically how to find her on Instagram, because she just inspires me. And I keep saying, Heather, would you make floss tube? And she said, why? Why should I? I'm like, because the things she was starting in Maynia. Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know if her profile is private or not on Instagram, but send me a message. We'll figure it out together. How to go see what she does. So she had finished this, I think, or was showed herself working on it. Probably by now she's finished it, and so I had already bought this after much careful shopping about which one I would like to do, because I only want to do one. I don't want all things. I don't want to buy all the things. And I bought this one because I have 2 girls, so that, and my girls have red hair. So I don't even know why it was agony, because duh. Right? Oh. So I had done some of the stitching on her arm, like her little forearm there, I think is where I started. And I suffered over fabric and all the things like we do. And so, honestly, come on. Doesn't that make you want to stitch it? Seriously. Look at that. Yanni said once, she showed her in one of her earlier videos, she was working on something, one of the ladies, and she said she always likes to do the face first because she always felt good about working on the person, or you felt good working on them when they had a face. And so it also helps to be outlining right along to figure out all the fractional stitches and stuff. And so, isn't she gorgeous? I mean, seriously, it's hard to figure out what's going on here, but let's look together at her. There's arm, and there's another arm, and there's a little bit of her back. So at this point, it kind of looks a little bit like something's wrong back there, but, and I don't know that I know the fabric. I might know it. I'm following all the people who do these things. I copied the key, and it's in my floss box. The fabric is not in there. If we really need to, we'll revisit the fabric at another time, I'm sure. What I wanted to say about the fabric, though, is I love working on this fabric. I don't know what it is, but it's thick, and it just feels so nice, and the needle goes through it so beautifully. I honestly did not want to stop stitching this. Isn't that the best when you're working on something, and like every color you add, you have to hold it back and look at it? This one makes me happy. Who says that all the time? Stitching with Luda? Yeah, she says things like that. Oh, it does. It makes me happy. And then yesterday's whip was Kingdom of Books. I was kind of not pulling it out right away here. I have another one I'm not pulling out right away. Like, excuse me while I move the mermaids. The mermaids have an entire box to themselves. Kingdom of Books needs an entire box to itself because it has 3 of these. You know, pre-sorted flosses with room to put the symbol and a spot to put, you know, your tails or your flosses you've pulled out and haven't needed yet. But I feel a little nervous about how durable they are, especially when I have all 3 of them out when I don't need them all. So I'm thinking a box might be in order. Kingdom of Books I had set up on my, I have a frame that's like long enough to put the whole thing on, and then I was working on it at a table space. But when we got ready to show the house, we needed to clean all that up because it wasn't really, I already had my overflowing, very busy sewing room. So I had done this whole top portion, and I had just barely started the dark brown outside that border. Oh dear, my watch. My Apple Watch is the magnet kind, and there's a needle on the other side of that. So it doubles as a needle minder. So my goal for Maynia this year is to do these 2 books and the Garden Gate. This is the first time I've worked on it outside that big huge scroll frame. I don't have room for the kind of setup I had before. I'm not sure. I put this on my Elbacy lap frame and it works okay. I really wish though that I had only used 2 plies. It calls for 3 plies of floss. And so I've done it all with 3, but 3, you know, I have old lady hands, and the pulling of the needle is a little tough. So I worked on it yesterday. My hands aren't really sore today, but if I had it out and thought I was working on it for a whole week, I think I might feel the pain. So that one might be a little bit of a struggle for me. And then I have all kinds of pieces and parts in that project bag because I copied the pattern. It's huge. It's like 8 pages. It's huge. I copied it and cut it apart and put it in a binder, all the things. This was a Maynia start last year that I never touched since Maynia last year until I started to get serious about finishing things so that I would have as few whips as possible. So I gave this a week and then a couple days, and I still didn't get it finished. But this is what I worked on May 1st, and I really thought, some thread just went flying and some more thread. I thought I would have it done. So I worked on it, and then I worked on it a few evenings. So prior to Maynia starting, I had like, I think this is maybe what I did. I don't know, whatever, just go with it. I definitely, during and after Maynia, worked on these motifs and down at the bottom in the letters. Oh, that one's not even done yet. And some of the other little obscurities. This is the one that I keep running out of thread on, which is funny. Well, I'm using that DMC linen thread, which is not working out very well, but I've used up skeins. And then I went and got the DMC version that out of my box, but I'm running out of that. So this is the one my husband had to stop at Michael's for. And there's another one. Sorry, I gotta get that thread back in play here. That I ordered from somewhere. So it'll come. I'll get back to it. And then here's the biggie. This is the biggie I really was gonna save till the last day, but last day being today when I knew I had to do the grocery store and run the errands and stuff. I worked on it earlier this week. Whoops, what did I lose now? A label. This is the one that I got from mybobbin.com. That was a free pattern, free to me if I talked about them, and I will happily every day talk about them. I had shown some time ago. I had shown this as a kit in a catalog. I don't remember what catalog. I don't think it was Hirschner's. And I didn't know who it was by, so I couldn't find it otherwise. And then my lovely viewers told me it was a Luca S or a Lucas. And I found it in the Russian shops online, and I just still had never ordered it. Well, given the opportunity. So I started it, and I just have to make sure. I plan, let me get something behind it. I plan after today in my 20th Maynia project, I plan to dedicate the rest of May to this. This fabric, which is a beautiful brownish, creamy brownish, is beautiful to work on. The flosses are Anchor, and they're all sorted on their little cards. And again, I'm learning from my peoples. Luda, I have one of those. I actually had these already. I just hadn't used it. I had this already, so it's not like it's a foreign item to me. One of those needle organizers that you leave your thread tails on a needle and stick it in there. So I have that started now. Where am I working? I haven't yet to figure out exactly where, but I think, well, I'm somewhere right in here. I think the one part is this sleeve hanging down, and the other part, I don't know. It's kind of hard. Well, looking on here, I don't see the colors exactly matching up. So that'll be fun to figure out. So I was kind of chuckling because Nicole Buckeye Stitcher showed one of the things she started, and it was like on a big 8.5 by 11 pieces of pattern pages, one and part of another. This one is on 8 of those pages. Not full on, like I think 4 of them are, I don't know, there's some of them that aren't full pages because you get to the end or you get to the edge or however they figured it, but those are some big pages. And I haven't copied them yet because they're bigger than my copier can do, but I'm working in the middle, and it's where 4 pages meet up, and so I'm almost losing my mind. There's none of that graying out of the overlapping part of the fabric pattern on each page. So I need to copy and tape it together, just where those 4 pages come together. So I just didn't do that yet. So that's Maynia. That's Maynia for me. It's been fun. I will do Maynia different next year, I am pretty sure. I will talk about next year. Who cares this year? And I'm going to try to resist starting more things. I don't have a real big problem resisting. I really don't. And then I feel like I have so many things and I never get to them because I seem to like hold myself to these things that are started, which is one reason why I like Maynia. It lets me like start all these things. Not that there's any rules, but I'm pretty sure if I just started everything, like if I started everything that was kitted up and had like 40 starts, I might go a little crazy. So we're doing what we're doing, and that's all we can do. And I love watching everybody's Maynia progress, and I think part of it's because it's everything. It's such fresh patterns every day. It's a new pattern, a new whip, a new something. So that's kind of fun. What else? Nothing else. We're doing the things. Staying home, staying in, trying to pretend it's not beautiful outside. No, we can go outside. We have a lot of yard. We can go on the lake. Our boat's not here yet. We can social distance on a boat really well. So, we'll see. That's about it, right? Hang in there, everybody. We're watching and hoping and praying for the states that are opening to be doing so and enjoying some good health, safety and good health, and hoping that what we think works, and we can, you know, get our legs back under us, really. Get back to, being in a new house, we have a lot of things to do. A lot of things, just little trips here and there, and a stop here and a stop there to find this or to find that we really can't do. So we're waiting to turn the economy. That's what I'm saying. So I have not been doing it with cross stitch stuff. I have ordered one pattern that I when it was shown, there was just no two ways about it. I had to order it, and it's from a business that isn't working full swing yet. So I'll get it soon, and I'll show you when I do. So have a good Memorial Day, everybody in the United States who celebrates Memorial Day. Bye.